laundry. It's your host, Andrea. It's been a hot minute since I did my last English episode. I guess last time was also the first English episode on this podcast. I don't really remember, but anyways, today it's kind of spontaneous. I'm going to talk about something deeply personal, and I guess that's why I want to do this in English, because sometimes when you talk about things in your mother language, it's too intimate. And also a lot of people would be able to understand what you talk about. Yeah, so today's topic is about how you can change your perspective and completely shift your life. This is not really about spiritual awakening. And so if you're not really interested in anything related to manifestation or, spiritual practices, you can rest assured that this will not be the main topic. And before we jump into the actual topic of today's episode, let's talk about what I read a couple of weeks ago. I read this really interesting novel called Dark Matter. And this novel is about a physics professor who enters this multi-universe world. Is this the right terminology? I don't really know. But anyways, since now everybody knows about, this multi-universe, different timeline kind of concept, I guess it would be really easy to process the premise of this novel. So basically, this protagonist, Jason, he accidentally gets kidnapped by this really strange man, and he enters this new world where everything seems to be the same, but he basically loses his son and his wife. And in this new reality, his wife is actually his ex-girlfriend whom he broke up with 15 years ago. So it's kind of like the what if he always thinks about in his original world. I hope I'm being very clear about this. But anyways, in this new world, he's this renowned researcher and, highly respected, and he is living a great life. But for the protagonist, Jason, he's like, where's my wife and child? I want my family back. And he's so confused and so desperately wants to go to his own home. So he goes on this really strange journey of trying to find the right universe, trying to find the right timeline to go back to his loving small family and his mediocre career. And this book has a very clear message. Like when you are reading it, you can't help but feel very grateful for your own life, because you just don't really want to enter another reality where everything is slightly different, or your career is like taking off, but you don't have your best friends around you, or you don't have your parents or your loved ones around you. Like you just cannot take it if you just experience this drastic shift, or if you just get this thing that you've always wanted and sacrifice other people that are also very, very crucial in your life. And I highly recommend this book because it's very entertaining. It's very exciting. Like I was on the edge of my seat the whole time when I was reading the book. And I also felt really good after reading it because I just cherished my life so much. I was like, I'm so grateful that I didn't have to go on this universe journey. It sounded so horrifying. Yeah, anyways, that's a good book if you really want to take on a exciting journey. And after a very random book recommendation, let's get into the actual thing that I want to talk to you about. And here, let me paint a picture. A lot of the times you have to meet some people constantly, even though you don't really want to. And I'm not talking about specific people like relatives, family members. It can be anyone. It can be your colleagues. It can be your friends, like old friends, or your loved ones who are really annoying, right? Like we all have these kind of people around us, whether you want to admit it or not. And a lot of the times we would probably complain about how annoying these people are to those we trust very much. And I guess most of the time we would say things like, why don't these people change? Like they're always so ridiculous. They're always fucking things up. Or sometimes, this is a very classic example during Chinese New Year. A lot of relatives would be asking questions about your love life, your career, how much money you make a year, or how much money your partner makes a year, or if you're gay or if you're asexual. Like they would just spell all these very offensive questions. And I guess that's why whenever it's around New Year, tons of videos would be made about how you can handle these kind of awkward situations and how you can kind of fight back or make some sarcastic comments so that the other person would feel like, oh, actually you're offended, or maybe it's not proper for me to ask these questions anymore. And I guess some people, they would still feel like they can do nothing about it, especially if those questions are from your grandparents or people that you respect, or simply just people that you cannot challenge. I don't know about everyone's situation, but I guess we've all been there. And hopefully these kind of problems will be less and less in the future. But today I really just want to share how I cope with these situations. And now I feel like it's getting better and better once I shifted my perspective. And it's been a very long journey. I don't really think I went through something that's deeply traumatic, but I do feel like I have always had some resentment towards people that are always in my life and are always doing things that are slightly toxic. And you don't really have to experience something deeply traumatic to have resentment and hatred in your heart. I guess that's also one of the reasons why I thought it was not something I should be talking about. Like I didn't go through something extremely bad. And therefore, if I'm sharing my perspectives, wouldn't that make me sound like a hypocrite? Like, oh, you've been through one bad experience and now you're sharing things like you're a teacher who understands humanity and human nature. But now I guess since I'm older, I just don't really care about how other people see me. I guess that's basically why I feel very comfortable sitting here trying to talk to you about my experience. And so here comes my secret formula when encountering annoying people. I'm not talking about boss or colleagues, like since these people are in your workplace, they would directly affect your work performance, or they would, be doing things that would change the result of your project, whatever. So I guess my advice doesn't really apply to this kind of situation, but I'm talking about those people who are around you, but they don't really know who you are. They don't really understand what you do. They have no idea what your passions are. I'm talking about that kind of relationship. It can be your family, it can be your friends, it can be store owners that you meet every day. Like it can literally be anyone. And I guess a lot of people who are very sensitive can understand this. Like you don't have to be close to some people. They can still bother you if they have the wrong attitude, if they say the wrong things, if they are slightly sarcastic about the things that you are so insecure about. Like there are endless possibilities. And how can we avoid meeting these people? I don't really think it's possible because you cannot control the outside world. You can only control who you have contact with and what your perspectives are. So if you decide to go on the first road, which is distance yourself from those who you don't really care about, you don't really like, you don't really want to put your time and effort into communicating with, I guess you don't really have to listen to this episode. Like just distance yourself from those who you don't care about and don't care about you. That would be the perfect solution. But unfortunately, a lot of us cannot immediately distance ourselves, or somehow we still have to meet these people once in a while. And how can we shift our perspective into a new one that makes us feel a lot better? when encountering these very special human beings. My secret here is to see life as a movie. It sounds very cliche. It sounds like I'm giving a piece of bad advice, but just hear me out. The other day, I was talking to my mom. I was telling her about this new realization. I said to her, I used to think that some older adults were super annoying because I saw how dirty they were, how impolite they were. They had all these limiting beliefs and they would happily push those beliefs onto other people and be very, very proud of themselves. I cannot give you specific examples, but all I can tell you is they are extremely greedy, they're selfish, they don't care about others, but they like to pretend that they are very caring. And they would say comments that are very, very obviously sarcastic and pretend to be like, oh, I'm so kind. Oh, you're doing so great. Oh, aren't you so smart? They would say things blatantly, just like offensive, and just be like straight up hypocrites. And when I was talking to these adults when I was little, I would be like, you guys are monsters. Like, I just couldn't bear it. Of course, my facial expressions were always very, very calm. Like, I would be like, oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, you are such a good person. Like, I would always make comments like this. But later I would talk to my friends about, I met this person and, this person is just so horrible. This person is so greedy. I never want to be someone like this. The problem is I had hatred. And I don't really like this feeling of having resentment and then give this energy to other people. Even though my family and friends are very willing to take the energy, take the burden from me and discuss my feelings with me, I personally just don't really want to do this. I think this behavior is turning me into someone I despise. And so these years, I try really hard to figure out a way to kind of just like change things up. And yeah, back to the things I was telling my mom about. I then said, when I was talking to these adults who are a lot older than me, I realized that, wow, these people are getting older and older. They are making more absurd comments about the society, about different groups of people. They're making fun of others and think that they are the funniest people on earth. And in the past, I would be so pissed off about everything I see. But in the past few years, I started to step away from the situation. I start to slowly become Nick Carraway in The Great Gatsby. Like, I'm in the world, I'm in the story, but I'm also an outsider looking in. And I freaking love that feeling because that way I can slightly distance myself, but I'm not disengaging myself from the reality. I'm still living in the moment. I'm still conversing with people. I'm still observing what is going on. But inside my consciousness is just seeing things as they are, and I'm not making any judgment. And when I do that, I realize that I actually really appreciate this. And by saying I appreciate, I mean that when you see people getting older and older, you realize that there's an end to things. Like, we are human beings. There's an end. People all die in the end. And we are kind of like playing this part in this world. And there are some things that we cannot let go of. For example, maybe for some people, being a villain or saying sarcastic things makes them feel alive or makes them feel better. When you see where they're coming from, you instantly just feel a slight empathy, or at least you pity these people, and you would think that, I don't really know how many times I can see you doing things like this. Of course, I'm not talking about like watching your family members killing others. If that's the case, call the police. I'm just talking about like people who have toxic traits. They're not doing anything physically to you, but they're trying to manipulate you mentally. I'm talking about these kind of people. Like when you see them and you really see where they're coming from, you just understand how pathetic they are. I felt like I was watching a bunch of infants talking. Like they had these basic needs. They wanted to be seen. They wanted to be cared about. They wanted attention. They did everything to people around them just so that they could get a slight reaction, or they could make you feel miserable, and then they could make sure that, they are alive. They are making an impact, although a very bad impact indeed. And I don't know, this whole realization just makes me feel a lot better right now. If you really think about it, when you watch a movie and every character is like kind and supportive, beautiful and wholesome, I don't really know if people will be entertained. Like if we talk about some popular shows nowadays, for example, like You or The White Lotus or other sitcoms that I really love, for example, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Superstore, these shows, they have the most annoying characters of all time. Like, I think every good show has at least 1 to 2 characters that are deeply annoying. Maybe they had their reasons, or maybe they don't. They're just straight up assholes. I don't care. But if you think about it, those people are the things that we love talking about the most. We love discussing why they're doing things. We love analyzing these people, and we make these characters into memes. We use them all the time. Like if we don't see them in a drama, maybe we will be like, there's nothing to watch here. And so now I decide to look at these people who I used to consider to be helpless and like extremely annoying to be characters that are necessary for a extraordinary movie production. And if they gradually become better and better, I guess it will also be a nice ending. Like, wow, in the end, we can all live peacefully together. That would be something I'm very excited to see. But if they don't, we all need villains in a movie, like especially in Marvels. We need these characters, so maybe I should thank them. I know this whole mindset shift is very ridiculous. I know a lot of toxic people can make actual traumatic impact on people. I know it's something that I cannot change, and I'm not saying that you can just instantly shift everything if you see them as villain characters or see them just like annoying people in sitcoms. I'm not saying this can solve your life problems. Here I'm talking about people you don't see eye to eye, and they actually cannot make any impact on you if you don't let them. When they become powerless in your life, gradually you will have the bravery, you will have the power of saying things that are in your heart. For example, if you don't want to be a pushover, you want to set boundaries, you can first shift your ideas about those people, and I think later you will have the ability to say everything you want to say, whether it be, can you stop joking about these? Or, actually I don't really find this funny. Or, yeah, thank you for complimenting me. I'm actually very capable at doing what I'm good at. Thank you for seeing me as the superstar. I'm using sarcastic compliment as an example because I think a lot of people, when they see you become successful, when they see you achieve a little goal, they'll be like, wow, you're so famous, you're a superstar. When you're earning so much money, you're a millionaire. Like a lot of people make comments like these. They want to embarrass you, and sometimes they would just want to shut you up. They want you to say, no, I'm actually not that great. Actually I failed a couple of times. They want you to say things like this. But now I guess I have thick skin. I'll just admit everything. I'll be like, thank you. Yeah, I do really think I'm amazing. I do really think I'm a supermodel. Thank you so much. Of course, I know I'm being dramatic, but I feel like the best revenge would be taking all the compliment and know that you are a gem. You worth a ton. And this is actually very helpful. I tried it a couple of times. Like maybe people unconsciously said things that were slightly sarcastic and I took them seriously. I would be like, oh my gosh, thank you. And they would be like, oh, it's not fun talking to you because you don't take the bait. So if you don't really want to continue these kind of conversations, like I highly recommend you just own it. Even if you don't believe in yourself, just fake it. Since we are trying to look at people as movie characters, like annoying movie characters, just see yourself as a protagonist, have this main character energy. I know main character energy sounds so cringy right now, but if you're talking to these annoying people, being a little bit cringy might really work, So I don't really know if the stream of consciousness is going to make any sense, but hopefully I do make some interesting points. And if you really feel that you can relate to anything I just talked about, please feel free to contact me on my Instagram. My Instagram is AndreaLynn8511. And if you love this episode, feel free to share this podcast with everyone around you. You can also tell me what topics you want to listen to in the future. And I will see you in the next episode. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye.